Hey, what's up? Today we have a steel Magnum BR800 900X on the table. The person says that the handle a little jiggly, and he says it doesn't run right. No idea what that means. When he brought it to me, it's a little late in the evening, and I didn't necessarily want to be that neighbor, so I didn't really make him show it to me. So I figure, let's take a look at it, see what's going on. I don't want to sound rude, of course, but person that I got this from, great guy, 10 out of 10, would recommend him to do your yard. Not the one, though, to necessarily read the instructions before you do anything, or to really even know what's going on there. I think I was interrupted, but so he was not known for necessarily following the directions. So sometimes choke may or may not have been used, sometimes a couple things, but you know, it very well could be that he was using it a lot. It is a steel, so it's definitely a good machine, so I'm sure it's going to be worth the fix, but a couple things to look for. Well, the fuel filter was out of the fuel, so that was interesting. Let's prime it. It's definitely taking fuel. The fuel bulb is about a little over halfway full after a couple presses. Let's see if this is turned off. There we go. About half throttle. It is on choke. Feels really low on compression. Try full throttle. I'll let you do it. Choke with full throttle. There we go. Okay, well, we might have a problem. I have a really bad feeling that this is straight fuel. No, I don't think so. Okay. It smells good. I say we take the air filter off, and then we maybe put a little bit of fuel down the throat with no choke on. Cover your ears. Yep. Something we might also check if it doesn't really like to run is steels. Oh my god. Love to make things difficult. But steels have a real bad habit of plugging a spark arrestor. So if that's the case, then that could be a problem. And of course, but I don't think so. I could be wrong. That's pretty dirty. It's like literally wet. You know what? I think we're gonna take a look at the plug. So this, I took the cover off for the plug, and I noticed, I kind of forgot to be honest, so this is a style that has a valve. So it is a 2-cycle per se, but it does have valves. Plug is dry. Okay. We can check for spark real quick. It's a lot easier with this on there. There's spark, but it's kind of weak. But it is a pretty small plug. Those are really kind of hard to see anyway. And I wasn't exactly pulling on it too fast. Let us put a little bit of 2-cycle fuel down the plug hole. And give it a yank. And then we will see what is happening with it. I just put that on there very loosely. Still nothing. Then we might take a look at those valves. Let's see what we have here. So we did have spark. It's roughly half throttle. Choke is off. When you do put fuel down a plug hole, you always want to make sure the choke is off. You want as much air as you can get in there. Sound a little ticky too. It really did. It sounded very ticky to me. I think we might look at the valves anyway. You're probably gonna get a better view than I am, but let's see here. Garage dog, I swear. It doesn't sound right. Okay, down. That's the exhaust. Intake. Pops up. Don't know what the clearance should be. Let me double check that. After excuse me, reading a bit, there's a steel feeler gauge that I do not have. I've been meaning to get it, just have yet to get it. I do have this feeler gauge, but I think is the reason why. I was like, nah. But maybe I can't. Because that appears to be like latched on there. So maybe I do need a steel feeler gauge. Are you joking me right now? Well, it's supposed to be 4/1000ths of an inch. So that one did have clearance. Let's check this one. That one also has clearance. What's that noise? Unless that's the compression release. That could be it. That could be why it feels like it has little to no compression. Well, they both appear to have the same amount of play in them. So that's good. I want the intake valve down a little bit. Yeah, that appears to be about the same. I mean, I could cut my feeler. I don't really want to, though. I think we're gonna go about our business and put that back on and take a look at the carb and see what goes there. Considering it is a steel, I decided to take off the muffler, well, at least the spark arrestor. Let's see, how does that thing come off? It's just rusted on there. I think so, yeah. Okay. It could be cleaner. It's not horrible though. I took my torch, cleaned it, but there's really nothing of concern in there. So the only concern I have now is putting this back in, considering it's hot. So I think we're going to take a look at that carb after I mess with this. Took the screws off. At least some of them. Like this one. It's probably something on the bottom holding it on. Oh, it's on the side. If I remember correctly, this is a real pain. And I'm still missing one. Oh, there's another one on the bottom. Try and get this whole cover to come off. Oh my god, there's another one. Okay. Now we just need to crack this loose. There we go. That may or may not be the best view now, is it? Going to open the fuel tank, kind of get the air pressure out, but leave the cap on. Maybe like one turn so it stays in place. There we go. Now you take some needle nose. First, let's take off the throttle. Even that's difficult. Man, I hate steels. Everything about them is hard. Steel designers purposely do that, I'm sure. I do wonder if the designers just have like this hatred for their service people. It's like maybe the head one used to be in service and then all of a sudden it got replaced by like a robot. And he's like, I'll show you. I'll make it impossible to work on. Well, at least for a robot. Oh, maybe a smarter robot. Okay. Take it to the carb station. Take this off. There we go. The fuel lines themselves don't feel bad, so I don't think that's the problem. Now, if a hard or stiff fuel line, that can cause problems. I think that might be our problem right there, but we're gonna take it off and move forward. Doesn't mean we can't test it though. Well, kind of test. Okay. The gasket we do not want to damage. Looks like we were successful. This diaphragm though, we're gonna check. Yeah, I mean, it's pliable, but it's showing its age. That's probably our culprit right there. But to be thorough, we're gonna set that aside, and we're going to. Oh, of course, they put even smaller hexes. I'm telling you, every time. Well, at least I found out that this has a compression release. I was not aware of that. Pretty sure that's what that clicking is. All knowledge is good knowledge. It came off surprisingly easy. Appears to be in fairly decent shape. Not gonna worry about that one. Trying to figure out what that is. That's just splined? I think so. That's what I mean, splined. Okay, so we have. It's really hard to keep in there. That's close to 1. It's like 3. Let's say 2.5. But I did feel it slip. I thought I could keep it, but no. There we go. What is that? Oh, it's a hex. Ah, okay. Well, we'll get the right one now. Now, let's try the real one. That's much better. Okay. Wait, 1.5. Okay. Now let's see the differences between the two. So they went in like this. So the one that came out next to us is a lot longer, or the one that came out second is a lot longer. So we'll remember that. Put this in a cleaner, be right back. All that is done. So now have a new diaphragm right there. Looks like we need the gasket to fit like that. It just lines up those placement holes, and there is a vent. Except I'm thinking this might be the wrong style of diaphragm. Okay, got the right one. Put all that in. It was gasket and then diaphragm. I'm just going to put in the screws. And there was a vent right there. That was that hole I was talking about. You just want to make sure you put it on the right way. So if it was 1.5, the other one we were thinking is closer to 2.5, but I was also using the wrong screwdriver. Has a pretty large implication. I think we are gonna do a little bit of a different one when that time comes. You can replace these, but this actually feels very good, and this isn't really something that I notice goes out nearly as often as just a normal diaphragm will. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. It looks good, it feels nice and pliable still. I'm going to leave it be. A lot of times you can repair these without a carb kit, but all you need is a diaphragm. And knowing steel, they do like to make it difficult to get, so not condoning it, but if you were to get a pick, get a red hot, and make your own little passageways, it could work. Okay, I'm gonna put this on the machine. Oh no, I shouldn't put it on the machine. The short one goes in there. That doesn't feel right. There is a piece of plastic in there to kind of keep it in place, so I think that might just be it. Instead of having a spring or anything else, they just have this little plastic O-ring in there. It just puts pressure on it all the time. So I think that's what I'm running against. It doesn't feel like I'm cross-threaded or anything, it's just pretty stiff. And it's gonna going in there a very long distance. Okay, so we have half, 1 half. That's 2.5. Let's just leave it at 2.5. Yeah, this one's doing the same thing. Okay. That just got a lot better now. The other one took a lot longer. Okay, so now we have 1 and a little over 1.5. Okay, we're gonna put this on the machine and see what happens. Got the handle figured out. It was a complicated procedure. I don't exactly know the precise name, of course, but it was something I would usually call screws were not on tight enough. Yeah, so complicated, like I said. Now that we have that out of the way, I have my adjustment screwdriver. I'm gonna take a few of these, put them over here. Probably should have done that before. These are fine, but I have it primed and it should be on. Let's put it on some choke. I think the noise that I was hearing was it was on a very low throttle, and that was a compression release. Starting to look not very pleasant. Let's see what happens. It's definitely no choke. It's a day later, and I decided to take a break. But I came to look at the diaphragm. Wanted to check the little bump that's on that piece and see if it was at any part different than the old one. It's not. So, okay. But we're having flooding problems. So I was like, that's weird. Then I noticed that this was jammed. And I wasn't at that time remembering that I have a special small kit, because I've had to work on these before, and Steel, probably gonna sound like a broken record, but loves to make every process they can difficult. So I'm gonna blow this out to cover your ears. I'm not joking. Every single, feels a little grimy. Let's blow this out too. But literally every single process has to be difficult with them. They're great machines, but man, why do you have to make everything hard to work on? Just put it this way. This is why I own Echo products. And people will say they're probably not as good. Well, let me tell you something about those Echo products. I don't have to go through nearly as much crap to fix them. And I rarely even have to fix an Echo product. Does it happen? Of course. It's mainly weed eaters. Okay, so let's see if this is nice and fluid. It's a whole lot better than it was before, so I'm happy with that. Give it a quick shot of air again. So this is a Zama adjustment tool. If you look at the carb here, they sometimes will say Zama, but I think that's usually where this piece is, but still uses Zama. What you can see is that is a C as in Charlie, 1 Q as in Q. So you look at here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but on here there's a series of numbers and letters printed, and you find the one that you have. So if you have a C2, you use this side. If you have a C1Q, like we do, which is right there, we put this on there, which this tells me that it needs to be completely level. And when I mean completely, a hair's distance up or down is going to cause problems. And what you do is you put it on either side of the carb because it's bigger, and you look at where it's on the needle. It could go up the smallest of amounts. So you hold that, you take like a knife or something, and you just want to pry up a little bit. Push it down a little bit, measure it again. Okay, that's getting better. It's really hard to tell, but if you go backwards so you completely clear it, and then you go forwards and it's not touching at all, you know you're good. It's probably easier to see it that way, but I could even go up a little bit more, so I am. This might have been part of the cause of why it wasn't running very good to begin with. Use a pair of pliers this time. I don't think that was really bending all that much. Okay, I like that a lot better. Are we going to touch? Sorry, I need the light. Yes, we are. We bent it too much, so we're going to bend it down. Down, unfortunately, is going to require me to take it off, so I'm going to do that until I get it absolutely perfect. Okay, we got it. So basically, it has to be level with the carb. We're now going to put it back together. Now, they do have a Marlboro equivalents. It just looks like a W. I feel like the Marlboro ones have a little bit of a different adjustment on them. I shouldn't say that, of course they do, but a lot of them are just different. Like it seems like they have a lot more, well, maybe not. I don't know, erase what I just said. But let's just remember that both Marlboro and Zama do have these adjustments. So if you are having a problem That could very well be it. Now I also double checked the needles, thinking maybe I put the needle on the wrong side. I was pretty sure I didn't, but you can never be 100% sure. So I took it out. I looked at them. No, the thread is completely different on them, so I couldn't have even done it to begin with. So that was not a problem. I reset both of them to 1.5 out. We might still have problems, I don't know. But flooding was definitely causing issues. And when I came out this morning to kind of ponder a little bit, I noticed there was a little bit of fuel chilling there. So I'm going to put this back on. Before I actually finish everything though, put it back on, pump up the primer, see if it's leaking, keep it relatively at the same level it's supposed to be before I even mount it, and if it seems to be fine, then I will then permanently mount it. Well, kind of permanently, but I also want to make sure I see that that is choke, so I was doing it right. So if it's not going to leak, we will put it back on and give it a try. Hopefully we don't have a repeat of yesterday. So I put it together, and like I said, you can literally see the fuel just drip down. I don't know how I didn't see it before, but well, I guess technically I did have the air filter on before, so that could be a good reason why. But I have primed it. Everything is good to go. Just move a couple of these items out of the way. Cell phone would probably be a good one not to have there, and other stuff that likes to rattle on the floor we'll put right there, except for our tuning. Let us try choke. Spark plug is connected. I pulled it over a few times just to make sure it's still dry. What I mean by that is I pulled it over with the plug out to make sure that there was no excess amount of fuel on the bottom of the cylinder. Appears to be good. I didn't really see a whole lot. Usually you see it like just fly out of the plug hole. Let me make sure it's on first. Yes, it was. Can't really tell. Let's try with no choke, see what happens. And full throttle. Now we're getting somewhere. I think we might have been flooded. You can do it. Okay. Oh, there it is. Well, let's adjust the high in a little bit. I have a 1.5, but sometimes they like to be at 1. one bit. Try a little less throttle. Okay, full throttle again. Choke is off. Has to be off for on full throttle. That thing definitely had a little bit of a pickup. I didn't want the tube to actually fly up and hit you. It was pushing it back. That's odd. Like I said, the needle cannot be changed. Yeah, I have to push in the needle all the way. Could be that the low is so far out that it's causing problems. So I'm going to push that in a little bit too. And then we will see what we have. Might have to turn this the other way because the side of my garage looks like the mist is happening in my house, but whatever. I'm afraid of doing this, but I guess we have to. Full throttle again. Let it warm up outside. Okay, it's properly warmed up, and I'm not going to go over tuning. Well, I guess I will a little bit. So I think there was a whole lot of fuel that just wasn't being pushed up through the bottom end. So brief lesson on 2 cycles. On the bottom end of the piston is where the fuel gets drawn in. That fuel, which has oil in it, that oil then lubricates the bearing, the rod, the crank, the connection between the rod and the crank, everything. That's why there's oil in it. That's why it's a 2 cycle. That's why you put oil. There's no oil. The oil's in the fuel. So now we have that. The gas goes in through the bottom. That's when the piston is going up. Now, if you know anything about pressure, when the space gets wider as when the piston's going up, it creates low pressure on the bottom. There's higher pressure in the outside atmosphere, which then air naturally goes from high to low. So air gets forced through a fairly small opening. Then that is through the carburetor, and then while doing so, it goes through the venturi, and then the venturi then shoots fuel, so that rush of fuel and air goes into the bottom of the engine. Then once the engine is on the top, detonation occurs and pushes the piston down simultaneously, while the exhaust gases, that's why the exhaust port is on the top and the intake's on the bottom, the exhaust is being forced out because there's high pressure in the cylinder and there's lower pressure outside. So the exact opposite happens. It goes from high to low, except this time going from high inside, low outside. Exhaust goes out. Simultaneously, while that's happening, while the piston's going down, the intake port's being closed and the air is being, and the fuel is being compressed. While it's being compressed, it is being shoved through passageways alongside the piston up into the intake, and then the process repeats itself. The piston goes up, explodes, everything happens. So it's a fairly simple process. The problem is when it's flooded, there could be a whole lot of fuel on the bottom that just hasn't made its way down and up through into the top of the piston. I think that was our problem when we first got started. There's a whole lot of fuel, flooding it out. Now we're good to go. We cleared it out. I mean, obviously I like doing it the way that we did it, to be honest, but when we turn it on, it should be dry, well, relatively dry. I let it run for about 10 minutes outside. I adjusted the needles because there's no reason why that high should be all the way in. There's just no way. So I put 1 and 1. Okay, well, that was unexpected. I actually think that might be pretty much perfect. I might use it outside real quick just to make sure. I do have to do yard work, so maybe I'll use it to do some yard work and make sure there's no hiccups along the way. But other than that, I think that's about it. Now, this does have valves and a cam, but it doesn't have any oil. So what I said is true about the how it mixes, but they added a level of complication in there, which is supposed to be more efficient. Because as you can imagine, when the fuel is going into the cylinder while the piston's being pushed down and the exhaust is going out, well, while exhaust is going out, a little bit of the fuel potentially could go out as well. That's why if you ever see those 2 cycles with like the really oddly shaped mufflers, those are designed to help push back in a way. I mean, it's a very brief overview, and I'm probably not even explaining it very well, but it's meant to kind of push back some of that to then help and create more power. So while this does have valves, it still runs on the basic system. So I think we're pretty much set. So I think I'm going to, like I said, just use that a little bit. I want to let it cool off. The main purpose of the person bringing it to me was because it was hard to start. Well, it was hard to start for me too, but it's warm right now, so I want to let it cool. I'll probably not get to start until tomorrow. Maybe I'll postpone the yard work until Sunday and then go from there. But unless something happens, I don't think we'll be seeing this one again. So if you like what you see, keep watching. If you have any questions or comments below, definitely leave those, and I'll catch you on the next video. You have a good night, and don't forget to subscribe.